Elon Musk's Green Bay spectacle. A soft launch for technocratic authoritarianism. Elon Musk's so-called town hall in Green Bay, Wisconsin, held under the banner of his proposed Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, was a disturbing blend of political showmanship, grievance-driven demagoguery, and authoritarian messaging, all wrapped in the aesthetics of tech industry futurism. While nominally framed as a crusade against waste and fraud in government, the event made clear that Musk is positioning himself as something far more dangerous than a concerned taxpayer or industry innovator. He is casting himself as a parallel governing force, an unelected and unaccountable figure claiming the moral and intellectual authority to dictate policy. The entire event was a populist fever dream that mirrored, and in some ways intensified, the most dangerous rhetorical excesses of Donald Trump's post-2020 political movement. Musk began by painting a simplistic black-and-white portrait of the federal government as a bloated, corrupt, and entirely broken institution. He mocked departments like education, transportation, and health and human services, suggesting that only a few cabinet-level agencies, specifically Treasury, War, and State, are worth retaining. He floated the idea of eliminating nearly all federal agencies, joking about converting the IRS into a blockchain-powered citizen audit hub, and live-streaming the contents of Fort Knox for transparency. These remarks carried deeply authoritarian undertones. They suggest a view of governance that is not only radically minimalist but wholly detached from the complexity of modern society, an anti-government ideology dressed up as common sense, rooted in billionaire hubris rather than a democratic process. There was no acknowledgement of the challenges or nuances of reform, only the implication that Musk alone knows how to run things. The rhetoric grew more sinister as Musk shifted into full culture war mode. He insisted that the 2025 Wisconsin Supreme Court race would decide the balance of power in the U.S. House of Representatives, a legally and constitutionally absurd claim. He alleged, without evidence, that undocumented immigrants were being deliberately issued Social Security numbers to vote illegally in swing states, echoing the most virulent strains of post-2020 election denialism. He floated the idea that Soros operatives had infiltrated the venue, feeding the crowd's paranoia with antisemitic-coded language and dark insinuations of sabotage. He warned that activist judges, working hand-in-hand with liberal bureaucrats, were scheming to impose one-party rule and permanently erase the political influence of conservative voters. These are not casual accusations. They are calculated attempts to delegitimize every institution that might resist the consolidation of executive or plutocratic power. Perhaps most brazen was Musk's use of financial spectacle to engineer political loyalty. Twice during the event he awarded attendees $1 million checks, presented theatrically to massive applause, in response to their participation in a campaign to recall or shame state-level judges accused of being ideological extremists. He admitted the giveaways were partially intended as a marketing stunt to draw media coverage and influence the algorithm, framing them as both acts of civic generosity and tactical media disruption. This weaponization of wealth, dispensing life-changing sums of money in exchange for ideological participation, represents a dangerous new evolution of political influence. It is not philanthropy, nor is it conventional campaign finance. It is direct economic coercion masquerading as public engagement. In doing so, Musk is commodifying civic identity and equating patriotism with partisanship while setting a precedent that billionaire political actors can purchase loyalty in the open. Throughout the event, Musk cloaked his reactionary politics in the language of audits, AI, and algorithmic oversight. He referenced zero-knowledge proofs and decentralized authentication as the keys to rooting out voter fraud and Social Security abuse, promising that his team had identified millions of dead people receiving benefits. These statements were made without citation or context, drawing laughter and applause from the crowd but offering no substantial data. This is not merely intellectual dishonesty, it is data laundering. By using tech jargon and vague mathematical claims, Musk wraps ideological assertions in a veneer of empirical authority, convincing his audience that his opinions are not just valid but objectively correct. In reality, these claims do not withstand scrutiny, and many are repackaged versions of disinformation previously debunked by government watchdogs and independent investigators. The cult-like atmosphere of the event was undeniable. At one point, Audience members were asked to join in a prayer for Musk's safety and protection, while chants of USA, USA punctuated his tirades against universities, civil servants, and journalists. Musk made several allusions to Trump, hailing him as the most peaceful world leader in 100 years, and mocking media outlets that compared him to fascist dictators. He dismissed these comparisons by sarcastically stating, "Well, I guess he's better than Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin combined," before pivoting to a rant about leftist book burning on college campuses. The point wasn't historical accuracy, it was to deflect criticism through absurdity while reinforcing Trump's messianic narrative. Musk clearly understands the mechanics of populist myth-making. Inflate your allies into heroes, reduce your enemies to caricatures, and turn governance into an ongoing battle between good and evil. What became crystal clear is that this event was not about public service or efficient government. It was a staging ground for Musk's emerging political identity. Part messiah, part CEO, part provocateur. He is no longer content with being a tech mogul with political opinions. He positions himself as a political force, using wealth, spectacle, and disinformation to shape public discourse and influence elections. And unlike most political actors, Musk operates outside the guardrails of party infrastructure or institutional accountability. He has the money, the platform, the reach, and, increasingly, the ideological machinery to mobilize millions. Elon Musk's Green Bay event represents a serious escalation in the blurring of lines between celebrity, wealth, and political authority. It was not a policy forum, it was a campaign rally in all but name, held by a private citizen with authoritarian instincts and zero obligation to democratic norms. The event offered no solutions, only enemies. No policy, only performance. It is a harbinger of a future where the boundaries between tech empires and political regimes dissolve, and the mechanisms of democracy are replaced with algorithmic manipulation, financial spectacle, and cultish loyalty. That future is not theoretical, it's here. And if Musk's influence continues to grow unchecked, it may become the dominant mode of political engagement in the post-Trump era.